Hashrate is sponsored by TAO Stats. TAO Stats is the leading Bittensor explorer. You can buy, sell, and stake Bittensor on TAO Stats. TAO Stats can be found at taostats.io, and there's a link in the Hashrate show notes description. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hashrate. My guest today is Shaq from Ridge's Subnet 62. Hello, Shaq. How you doing?
Good. Yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you for being here, my friend.
Thank you
So very exciting. You are one of the darlings of the Bittensor universe at the moment, and it does change a little bit from time to time. So let's hope you remain a darling and ascend to even greater heights. And I think, look. So what you do is really exciting, and I think it's one of the few front doors application layer level things in the Bittensor universe. Like Dippy is another one, right? Like you can see the sort of characters that they're putting out there and touch, taste, feel it as a consumer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You are also producing sort of a consumer product. So why don't you tell us very briefly what Ridges is, keeping in mind that like some people who watch this show don't know Bittensor and don't sort of understand our universe well. So please tell us what you're up to.
So, I mean, basically, the TLDR is that AI, like you can talk to it, but it can also code. Like it can do more than just like chatting. They've gotten really good at coding, but companies can't actually use it to replace coders because you can't actually like reliably use it the same way you would a human engineer. It's still like a very iffy, go back and forth. Sometimes it makes mistakes kind of thing. So what we're doing is basically we want to take this process where companies are integrating AI by getting like a human coder to use AI, and then the coder reviews its work, and then it figures out how to put it into use, to basically getting the AI to do what the human is doing. So the AI figures out what to do, it tries to do it, it reviews its own work until eventually it can just give you the final product. So instead of kind of having like humans in the loop, you have AI coding end to end.
So usually the humans that are in the loop are engineers. Yes. Right. So it's like my friend Fred Krueger, who is a Stanford PhD and also, started life, writing code. Right. He uses Claude or Cursor Code, I think it's called. Yeah. And it's basically like a ride along assistant. Yes. Which, so you still need a human engineer in his universe, right? And he's got this sort of ride along AI that's helping him. Mm-hmm. But you still have to have sort of an understanding of code in order to use that tool. So you're trying to do the next level up, is what I understand, exactly. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to go to like the end point where it's just AI doing it for you.
So if I'm like basically, if I'm someone who doesn't know how to code, mm-hmm. and normally I would go out and hire engineers, you're like, don't do that. You can buy one of our AI engineers and just talk to it like a normal, like English. Yes. And describe what you want it to do, and it'll try to do it and come back and be like, did I succeed? And you, in English, say yes or no. Yes, correct?
Yes, exactly. I think that like right now everyone's trying to develop like tools for engineers, but like really like you said, like the final form of this is basically like an HR tool where you're just trying to like managing this AI to do it for you as like a regular person would manage an engineer.
So is there anybody else doing this sort of in the normal AI world, like outside of Bittensor?
I mean, Claude Code is the biggest example. But even Cursor and basically everyone that is building AI to like augment human software engineers is in the background trying to test out like, okay, how can we get it to code end to end? They have like their own versions of agent mode. Cursor has it. Windsurf is working on it. Cloud Code is working on it. Everyone's kind of working on some version. But it seems right now the bet is work on something that augments humans and eventually kind of like we'll figure it out over time how to get them to like replace it instead of focusing fully right now on how to replace it.
Yes, they are definitely focused on the Iron Man suit for the engineer,
for sure,
right? Like that's what it looks like to me. And so, and there's not as much focus on mere mortal product engineer who doesn't know how to code.
Yeah,
now you have an army of not Iron Man suits but robots.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So very different kind of thing. So, so I've watched a bunch of other podcasts where you've appeared and talked a little bit about what you're doing. One of the things you said was your goal is, $1,000 a month per AI engineer is sort of your goal. Yeah. Right now it's roughly, this is the Iron Man suit, but roughly 3,500 a month for Claude.
That's what
and and human engineers are, 10 to 20K, maybe more. If your Facebook is a lot more, right? Yeah. But it's expensive, right, to have AI engineers. How are you achieving such cost savings while retaining the same quality as something like Claude, and in fact, adding more quality by
Mhm.
making it interfaceable by a mere mortal instead of an engineer.
So I mean, like the big, there's actually like a pretty big difference in how I'm approaching it versus how everyone else is approaching it right now. In that most of the companies are like focusing on getting the like AI model really, really good, and then they're building a very thin agent layer on top. But the most expensive AI model or the best AI model at any given time is going to be super expensive. So by definition, they have to be paying tons and tons of money to use the best model because their product only gets better if the model under it gets better.
Yeah.
We're kind of going the other way, where instead of having a very thick model and then a thin agent layer, we want a very thick agent layer and a thin model. So what that means is that we make the agent really, really good, even if it's using a cheaper model that isn't as good per se. So because of that, the idea is that like we kind of we can use cheaper and cheaper models and still get the same output because if the part of our system that's allowing the code to be written really well and reliably is the agent, not the AI model under it. So we're not reliant on using like the most expensive AI model.
Oh, that's interesting. So the agent is really the center of gravity. You're
Yes.
focusing on that, and you're
Yes.
saying I can use lesser quality for the sort of Claude part of it. And in fact, I think you are actually using these other
Yeah.
models. Is that correct? Okay.
We're only using these models. So we're coming close to like Cloud Code Score with a model that's much smaller, like an open source model called DeepSeek V3, which is what most agents are using now. And we saw this where basically like we actually had an even better model that all the agents were using. We forced them to use a shittier model. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this.
You can swear. Yes, it's okay.
A couple of days so their score with the better model was 45%. We forced them to use the worst model. It got to 30% immediately. Within 2 days, they're back to 45% by just making the agent better with this worse model.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay. So very interesting. Okay. So, but I think there's another dynamic at work here. And if you'll bear with me for a second here, so this is a little, I don't know what you call it, graphic that Const, one of the founders of Bittensor, made recently. Right. And he has you guys at the top. He has ridges right at the top of the application layer. Mm-hmm. And then there's the alignment layer, which is Const's own subnet, right? Which is basically the idea is composability. He's basically incentivizing composability, subnets using other subnets.
Yeah.
And then he's got the service layer where he's got chutes and gradients and Grail in there. Mm-hmm. And then below that, the commodity layer where he's got Targon, Liam, and can't read that last one. My eyes are not. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Hippias, right. Hippias is storage. Weirdly, Targon and chutes I would think would be on the same layer, but for whatever reason, Const thinks they're in different layers. Mm-hmm. But I think what this successfully illustrates is that Bittensor subnets that use other Bittensor subnets, because there's this subsidization effect happening where the chain itself is paying for part of what you're producing, therefore allowing you to offer something at greatly reduced cost.
Yes.
If you in turn use other subnets that are also subsidized in the same manner, then the entire AI supply chain of storage, inference, training, blah, 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 et cetera. At every step in the stack, there's massive cost savings.
Yes.
Which are then passed on to whoever the top guy is, right? Can pass it on to the customer. Yeah. Which it's like compounding savings. Would you agree with this?
100%. Yeah. So we actually use chutes and Targon for all of our AI like model usage. And it actually extends more than this because let's say we weren't to use them. If we were to like have our own data servers where we have to run this, we're only so good at like taking for every machine, getting all the AI usage out of every like the server that we're running. But the miners on chutes and Targon are basically also per machine getting us a lot more usage. So they're optimizing basically that part of the stack for us too, in addition to the fact that it's much cheaper because it runs on Bittensor.
Now you talk about agents, right? And I noticed that you right before this show you launched something new, and the agents I imagine are various attempts to create the user interface layer for the mere mortal humans to access the underlying Claude, or I guess it's DeepSeek powered models largely that actually write the code. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how many agents there are, and is it a winner take all, and what did you just launch? And if you want to demo something, feel free.
So basically like it is winner take all. The agents are kind of built in like the brain around like how to use like the DeepSeek or the models. So they basically like actually get the full power out and use it much more reliably than you could use it by just asking it to like solve the problem. And then our job as a business is to almost build like the body around that allows like customers to end up using that brain. We have a new feature, but so we just launched like basically like a dashboard that lets people mine, basically compete to build agents without having to touch crypto. And so we've had like between
let's talk about that really quick. I think that's a very important point, and I actually want you to expand that a little bit. Sure. So normally when you mine in Bittensor, you're earning, you're effectively earning TAO, but you're also earning subnet tokens, which is rehypothecated TAO. So you can debate on, is it really TAO, is it not? But whatever, you're earning you're earning emissions off the chain.
Yeah.
But a lot of AI people don't like crypto. They might not like Bittensor. So you have gone the extra mile and made it so that AI people can mine in Bittensor, and you immediately convert whatever the emissions are into fiat and pay them in fiat.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically that was the idea. A lot of the most talented, I mean, if you look at the amount that the winner is making on our subnet today, if you have the top agent on our platform for 24 hours, you're making close to $40,000, which is good dough. I mean, that's like on par. Yeah, that's like on par with like basically all the top labs. The problem is that like a lot of the guys that are really good at building these agents have like an aversion to crypto, or it's just very complicated. You have to understand TAO, and then TAO into subnets, and then subnets into like BTCLI. You have to register on chain. It's difficult. There is a learning curve there. Yeah. I think that like a lot of crypto has a bad name, like rightfully so, and unfortunately that kind of stains TAO. But at least even for example, for when I was hiring, the way I kind of got around that was to show what the platform could do, and then everyone kind of onboards onto Bittensor. So we're doing the exact same thing. You log in with a Google account, you submit your agent through the dashboard. If you are on top, we will basically take your earnings. We'll send it directly to your bank in dollars. And in doing so, we'll take like a percentage fee. There was actually another cool effect that ended up happening, which is that we started building like tools for miners, like for people that were building the agents to use on their dashboard. And so what we ended up seeing was that a lot of regular miners were actually submitting through the dashboard to use those tools, voluntarily taking that fee. And effectively, we managed to like reduce the amount of sell pressure on our token, because like a lot of the regular miners that were regularly using the network ended up coming onto the dashboard because they wanted to use those tools, and we're getting 10% less for it. They were fine with that.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is pretty awesome. So, and then also there's a lot of Bittensor miners who are now thinking about or using, I'm not sure where it's at, using ridges to power their mining operations, right? Because there's all these other contests in Bittensor where, if you use AI successfully to sort of produce better commodities, and if you have this thing called ridges, which is an AI engineer, well, why don't I just use that? Yeah, right, to mine this other thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, so you have all these very interesting, recursive loops inside of the Bittensor universe, and everything is sort of geared to drive all the value back to the TAO token. So sort of the more composability that happens theoretically, and this is not financial advice, but if you sort of look at how it works and how value accrues, theoretically, it should all accrue ever greater to the value of TAO.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I actually had a feature that I wanted to demo today, but it's not quite ready yet. But I'll mention what it is today. I will mention what it is today, since I said I would try to show it on the pod. But we're basically like doing exactly this, where we are basically releasing like our first product, which is like an IDE, like a development environment, like Cursor, but it's powered by Ridges agents for people to be able to develop the agents better. And it's going to be included in our dashboard perhaps next week or maybe the week after, worst case, as like our first kind of like demo of a product.
So my friend Fred Krueger, which is currently using Cursor right now, which is an IDE, I believe, is the way he described it to me, or he uses it in his IDE. He can use your competing product instead of what he's using right now. And why would he use your product instead of I think he's using Cursor right now.
Yeah. So a couple of reasons. We're basically building it specifically for making it easier to develop agents. So Cursor, for example, like as of current, to be frank, they will be better than us at launch, but over time we will get better. Because our like unit economics are just like kind of by definition positive where theirs are negative. So Cursor will release their tool, but over time it'll get worse because right now they cannot afford to like pay for all the inference they're using for their IDE, basically. Where the rumor is like roughly for every dollar in revenue Cursor gets, they're losing $5, and that's not very sustainable. It's like quite a bit of money. Yeah, and they're at $1 billion of ARR now. So like if you do the math on that, it's quite bad.
So they're bleeding cash. So basically, so these get basically your competition is hemorrhaging cash.
Yes, they're bleeding like crazy.
The unit economics don't work.
Yeah, and you end up seeing this where basically Cursor or Cloud Code, what they'll do is they'll release a very good product and they'll bleed a lot of cash initially to get all the users to use it. They're like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
And then under the hood, what they'll do is over time they'll replace it for worse and worse models. So you're paying your fixed cost of $20, but you're like, oh, well, all of a sudden it feels like it's getting worse. And you see this complaint online everywhere.
Wow, I didn't know that. So it's degrading in quality over time.
Yes. Well, they don't have a choice. They're just burning too much cash.
Right.
On the other hand, with our product, because our inference costs 1/250th of what it costs Anthropic right now, we're not operating at
1/250th?
Yes.
Okay, by what sort? Let's dig into that for a second. So your inference is 1/250th of what your competitors is. By what sorcery are you paying 250th? How does that happen?
It's a bunch of things. So we are basically using models that are much cheaper and lighter to run. Yeah. For example, like a very common model, so the bigger the model, basically, the more expensive it is to run, as a rule of thumb. That's not like fully accurate.
Yeah.
These companies, if they're using the biggest, baddest models possible, it's going to cost them a ton to run. We're using very, very small models that today you can run on a good MacBook. And so our cost to like actually run these AI models is much cheaper. On top of that, we're running on Shoots and Targon, which again is like further optimized because the miners are optimizing it. We're also helped out by the TAO emissions. So if you were to do the math on the amount of inference our agents are using to solve problems, and you do the math on how much they're using, it is literally 1/250th cheaper.
That is amazing.
Yeah, you can verify it yourself.
Can't Claude just start doing that?
The problem with Claude is that their whole bet is that they have a very thin agent, and their model gets really good. So it's solving a lot of problems because the model is really good. But that means that if you have to change the model to a cheaper model because it's too expensive, the product automatically gets worse. Whereas with us, we don't care what model we're running. We will adapt to the model, and even if it's cheaper, even if it's smaller, we'll figure out a way to juice it, get enough juice out of it to get the same solution for you.
Got it. Okay. Very interesting. So go ahead. You had a thought?
So we're using Cursor, you'll basically have this product where over time it's going to get worse and worse because it has to. Whereas with us, because our agents get better every day, day in, day out, as everyone's competing on it, our product actually gets better every time you log in, while actually being able to deliver the same service at the same price or cheaper than our competitors, at something that actually gives us a profit margin right away. So we can actually maintain and sustain that.
Yeah, actually, that's a very interesting point. So let's talk about that for a second, because in Bittensor, you have this competitive environment where you don't get paid unless you're the best.
Yes.
And that happens every day, every hour, right? So it's not like it's sort of, so there's this continuous evolution going on. And so the agent layer that interfaces to the human and operates the DeepSeek under the hood to write the code, that is in continuous release. And there are, I don't know how many miners you have, but usually it's 256, right? So, and that are competing to create the best agent. Yeah. And and it's a winner take all. So, 255 are getting nothing. Yes. One guy is getting it all, right? Yeah. And eating well and getting TAO emissions, right? Yeah. So what do you have 256 miners, and do you even understand what they're doing, or is it just getting better and better and better, and you're not, because to finish the thought. So I was listening to Will Squires talk about with Data Universe, right, is scraping Subnet. Yeah. People are scraping X, and he's like, I don't even understand how they're doing it in a cost-effective manner because it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. But okay, the miners are willing to do it for whatever reason somehow. Yeah. So go ahead. Tell us about your mining world.
So with this Google log, we have all 256 slots in our subnet are full. With this Google mining feature, we've actually got an influx of new people competing. We've had in the last, I think, 4 days or 5 days, we've had 480 users sign up and submit an agent. Oh, so wow. The competition's actually gone up quite a bit. And it's literally every hour everyone's coming up with new ideas. Because like we're in a bit of a different position where the miners have to actually give their code to us and then we run it and confirm it. So perhaps it's harder on Data Universe, but for us, we can actually read the code for how they're solving more and more problems. To be honest, at this point, I don't know if I could come up with the innovations they're coming up with myself, but I can read and understand like what they're doing, and a lot of it's like very, very cool stuff. Like for example, one guy recently improved his score by, instead of having one agent, you create 5 little agents that like look around the code and try to find out where the problems are, and then they basically phone home while they're doing it. As soon as they phone home, like the home base agent basically tells all the other agents that are still out there, hey, by the way, this other agent found this thing. And it's just like almost like a team of like agents that are crawling through the code base, stuff like that. It's pretty crazy stuff that the miners are doing.
So he created another competition within the competition.
Literally, yes. Yeah. And then at the end, he has like the agents kind of work together to make their own solution. He gets 2 solutions that are like trying to compete within themselves, and then the agent itself picks the better solution to submit to us.
Wow.
Yeah. So a competition within a competition within a competition.
That is pretty wild. So okay, so what can you tell me about customers? So I'm just I'm a business, I'm an enterprise out there. Mm-hmm. I've heard of this Ridges thing. Can I come and use it today? Can I just buy services from you today? And if not, when can that happen?
Not yet, but I think we're weeks away at this point.
Okay.
So we're releasing like either next week or the week after, worst case, we're releasing our first product, which you will actually be able to use. Anyone can sign up and use it and see how well the agents can do. And we're getting close to the point where as we release the product, we'll be on par with Cloud Code. So we're solving roughly 55-60% of the problems. Cloud Code solves 73%. And then once we're matched there, then I think we're on par. We're fully release a product that you can basically use it to hire basically an engineer instead of you.
Wow. Okay. So, and then how will you market this? Like, what is your go-to market strategy? Are these enterprises that you're targeting? Will you have a sales force, or is it just throw up the website and swipe a credit card and boom, get an agent? How do you go about this?
So, I mean, initially what we want to do is like kind of grassroots it with developers that are using these products day in, day out. I think like 76% are using it every day. And they're very
76% of all engineers software engineers are today using some form of Iron Man suit, some form of Cursor, whatever, some sort of AI assistant. Yes, okay. I just want to make sure that get out of there.
Yeah. So we want to start with those guys, and then whenever you log in, we're gonna have like a big banner that says compete to make this better, earn 40 grand a day. So I think we can get a lot of attention from that because it basically hasn't been done before in this way, where you can make these kinds of sums of money working on something that you're using yourself every day.
Yeah.
So we want to start it there, and I think that we can get a lot of like just organic adoption from developers that are looking for like better products to try out, that are complaining that like the existing products are getting worse over time because the inference under it is getting cheaper. But I think that like immediately after, we need to actually build a sales team. I'm talking to someone that has a bit more experience doing this for how to do that, because there's a massive underserved market of enterprises that want to use these tools but can't because nobody's open source. So basically, like they don't want to send their proprietary code base just to some random like company, or even if it's a big company like Anthropic or OpenAI, because legally like their hands are kind of tied. They can't send their proprietary code. Whereas with us, we're fully open source, and so we have a major selling point there that we can match the performance. It's much cheaper, and you can actually run it yourself because we're open source. You just need to buy the license from us. So that's kind of what we want to go after.
Wait, let's talk about that because I'm not understanding that fully. So people can run. Oh, so the agents can be run locally?
Yes.
After you. Oh.
Yes.
Okay. And so like Linux. So it's like Linux in that sense, right? So I just download your latest agent from your site and run it locally?
Yep. So what we're selling is basically like you can download the latest agent and figure out how to run it locally because it does work. Yep. Or we can build like a tool where then it just auto updates for you the top agent in the background. So either one works.
How do you know that I'm not just stealing this from you instead of, I'm like, okay, thank you for that. I'm not paying you. Goodbye.
That's a tricky problem. I mean, this is true of all open source, and we haven't really figured out 100% how to solve that.
Okay.
Of course, you can say there's licenses like for like where you can use it, but it's pretty difficult to enforce if you're running like agent code locally. So we got to figure that out still.
Okay, it's a fair answer, and you're right. It's the problem with all open source. So, but if I want to comply with the law, so there'll be some scofflaws that are like, forget it, I'm not going to pay. Exactly. But like if you're IBM or somebody, you're going to pay just because you don't want to. Yeah. So that'll be the bulk of the money.
For sure. Yeah, exactly.
And okay, so that actually you just answered my next question, because it was going to be, if I was an enterprise, one of the things I'm hearing a lot with a lot of subnets, including like Targon and Shoots, is I trust you guys, Targon and Shoots, but you have 256 miners that are serving up the inference, which means that my proprietary data is in some way going out to a whole bunch of people. I don't know who they are. We have no idea. They could be in North Korea. We don't know. Right. Yeah. And so, I don't like that. Yes. And so I'm not going to use your product because of that, but you have a solution to that. You're just like, run it locally and all good.
Problem solved. Yeah. Although I will say Targon has this really cool thing called TVM that lets basically the miners run the inference without them knowing what they're running.
Yes, I have. That is their answer to that question. But yes, but no, it comes up a lot. There's a lot of other subnets that have like the same issue. Yeah.
You kind of like want to use the miners for the R&D. Well, I mean, I guess if you have TVM, then that's problem solved. But on our end, like our approach is just to use them for the R&D. And this is kind of part of why we forced the miners to submit all their miner code, because we didn't want to be stuck with either companies having to send their code base to a miner to solve the problem for them, or let's say a miner, then let's say they're a really good agent and the company somehow trusts them, which they wouldn't. The miner could just be like, hey, I'm leaving unless you pay me like $1 million. And then we're just stuck.
Right. Okay. So how many agents have people uploaded to date? Like how many sort of stabs at this do we have?
A ton. Let me actually get that for you right now, the live, because it updates every minute basically.
Okay.
Select count from agents. The total number as of present, it's running right now. It's quite a big number. So I can tell you we have 481 that have submitted through the dashboard, like people that have signed up and submitted an agent or multiple agents. And this big number is still running. I think it's north of 8,000. Oh, no. Yeah. 8,463 agents submitted.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share my screen one more time here because I want to ask you another question about something Elon tweeted recently.
Yeah.
So hang on just a second. Okay, there we go. All right, so this is something Elon tweeted out. He was bragging about Grok winning hands down at coding versus all these other things that compete with you. And he says his accuracy is 26.2%.
Yeah.
Now you said something like, I forget the number you said earlier, but I think it was like 40%, 50%.
It depends. This is a different benchmark than the one we're running, but we're actually doing this where tomorrow we're going to release like a bunch of comparisons, so people can actually place us on these benchmarks and see how the agents are doing. Yeah. Okay,
so this 26, so the benchmark, so he's basically grading different. So I can't compare apples to apples just yet with you guys, but you said tomorrow you're releasing something?
Yep, tomorrow we're going to have like a full benchmark list of all the major benchmarks and how we rank.
Wow. Okay, very cool. And then let me go. Let's see. Yeah, then there's this. I saw you guys just push this out. Oh no, this was from last night. Sorry. So okay, so this is the number of agents published, updates.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's very cool to see like how people are coming up with ways to improve the agent. It's quite crazy.
Oh yeah, now let's talk about you and let's talk about your team. So from the other pods, I've heard that you're only 5 people, so pretty lean team, right?
Yeah.
And led by you. And who are you? And I think you're 21. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you're a young guy. So yeah. So what were you doing before this, and what made you do this? And who are the other 4 people who are working with you?
So I did like a bunch of different things. I graduated a little bit early. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated, so I went to dental school. And
dental school, okay.
So just like everyone in my family was a dentist. It was like a very, very easy choice to make.
Yeah.
But I went to dental school as COVID started, so I had a lot of free time. I picked up programming basically to trade biotech stocks because I had a dental background. Okay, I'm programming. I want to trade. It was kind of like a good mix of all of them. That ended up doing pretty well. So I was like, okay, let me drop out. But my parents were like, no, you need to get a degree. So I went back to school for CS and physics. And then I got a job at the transition team at Twitter, at which point my parents were like, okay, you've got our blessing to drop out. And then from there,
so transition team, you mean like when Elon took over, that was when you showed up and you got a job there. Did you have FaceTime with Elon?
I mean, like I was on the team on like the transition team. So like we saw him around.
Oh, okay. You saw him around, or were you like, was he talking directly to you, or
not directly to me? No.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know. You never know. So okay, so you were at X. So you were like in the belly of the beast. And how long were you there?
A good few months. I don't know the exact number, like probably 6, 7 months, 5, 6 months.
Okay.
I'm not sure, something like that.
And then you left.
And then I started doing trading basically, but it was like a stopgap. So myself, and one other guy on that team also kind of left, and we wanted to figure out how to work on like agents. But in the meantime, we were just trading because that's what I knew how to do. That's what I was good at. And so we started like working on different ideas. He went to college with someone that went to college with someone else that was working on a Bittensor subnet. And so the idea came up. He's like, like we should talk about this. And that's kind of how the idea started. It actually initially didn't go like too well for a lot of reasons. But basically, like we set up our subnet pre-detail. But as soon as we kind of had figured out how to run everything, detail happened. We didn't really have like running capital, and so we kind of left the idea for a bit. And then where I got to now is basically at some point I still wanted to work on the idea, so I was like, okay, let me buy you guys out. I had some savings. So I used that, and I hired like a bunch of Waterloo interns, which are the other guys in my basement. And yeah, from
in your are they literally in your basement?
Yes, they're literally downstairs.
They live with you.
Yes, yeah.
So the subnet is all. Oh my god! So you actually have like a code house.
Yeah, there's just the subnet's at my dad's house, basically.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you guys are hardcore, man. This is like, you guys are very for real as a startup. Now, why would you? So now tell me, for the regular startup people out there, right? Like someone like Jason Calacanis, right, who comes from the sort of the normal startup world. The physics of our universe in Bittensor are very different because of the subsidies. It's kind of like a very different way of doing everything.
Yeah.
Right. And also from the costs to the pricing to how the startup founders are compensated, because it's in TAO and subnet tokens. Like there is no stock, right? I mean, I guess, right? Like I don't think you guys have ever. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I mean,
well, we have like a equity topco, but like there's also the token. They're very like interleaved.
Yeah. Yeah. So, why would you do something on Bittensor as opposed to going and raising from, you clearly have a pedigree. You clearly probably could have raised money from a regular venture capitalist and kind of gone it the straight way. Why did you do this weird crypto newfangled thing way?
Well, I think there's a few things. One is that like there's a lot of other regulatory stuff that comes up if you were to try to do this the regular way. For example, like if you're doing a competition, sending money to people requires KYC. And there are companies that do this, like Data Curve is doing something similar for like data annotation, stuff like that. But there's a lot of hurdles there. But the second thing is that there's no other way to really incentivize competition as well as Bittensor. To develop this kind of competition, you need like a bunch of different factors. You need to stop people from cheating. You need to like kind of have a cost for registration. You need to have a network to send the money out. There's like all this infrastructure that has to be built. And Bittensor has spent like years building it, battle testing it, stuff like that. It's like already ready to go platform. In addition, like if we were to send money out, like actual cash at the same rate that we're sending today with our token, it would be $15 million a year, which is not a sustainable amount to just like throw it.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's basically like, yeah.
So wait, so let's just capture that for a second. So $50 million a year are being sent out, not by you, but by the TAO blockchain.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. So basically that's the subsidies that are going to the people that are building your product, the miners.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So the R&D cost is not on me. The R&D cost is by the token. And then it's my job to basically make sure that the people that buy that token have like the money kind of flowing back to it and compensating them for it.
Yeah, that is fascinating. And there's no way you could match those economics. You could raise 50 million.
No. Yeah.
But that's per year. You'd have to have you'd either have 50 million per year would have to go out to the people doing the competitions.
It's just
now, why is doing it as a competition, an open competition? Why don't you just hire some smart engineers? Why didn't you just do that?
So specifically, our whole bet here is that like you want to optimize how the agent gets information out of the LLM. You can hire like a bunch of AI engineers and try to do that. But I think that like it's not a textbook kind of situation. Nobody knows exactly how to like get the most out of the model. It's very new. There's a lot of experimentation. I think the best way to do it is let people compete on different experiments. Kind of in the same way that a model works under the hood. Like you kind of have like competitions that like eventually select the fittest one. It's just like evolution of the agent.
Interesting. Yeah. So because this is open virgin territory, nobody knows what the right answers are.
Yes.
So hiring the smartest people is not going to get you the best results. Yeah. Hiring the most people and sort of brute forcing it, I guess. It's sort of a combination of big brains but brute force at the same time.
Yeah. It's like you do evolution of the best brains. Instead of us trying to hire and figure out who's the best at figuring this out, you let everyone do it, and if you have the results, you get paid. Like very clearly, I think we've gotten to the point now where agents are getting better. So it's a question of proving whether it actually works in real life. So the main next step for us is doing what we have to do to kind of package this in a product to show everyone that this works, and that like Bittensor has legitimately produced like a competitor to like these juggernaut centralized companies on way less capital.
Yeah, I think right now this is sort of a Bittensor wide question or concern or challenge. There has not really been a breakout subnet yet, which, and by breakout I mean something that's got $1 billion worth of market cap, or more, that is clearly beating the centralized competitors. We do have glimmers of it. Like there's definitely some promising maybes popping up for sure. There's like maybe 10 or 20 of them. But nothing which is just, undeniably crushed the crap out of some centralized version of this that, without a doubt, like in the same way Bitcoin, it's the world's largest supercomputer, right? Like 500x more than its nearest competitor. Absolutely destroying the competition in terms of raw compute incentivization, right? And granted, it's had 15 years to get there, but whereas Bittensor has had quite a bit less, and the subnet's only a few months, right? So it's still fairly early days, but there's enough bubbling that it feels like that's inevitable to me.
It's going to happen, It's just a question of who does it first. Yeah.
So, but I do think you might be the subnet that breaks out that does it first. My fingers are crossed for you. I love the potential of what you're doing for sure, and it does feel. I mean, it's native to you're staying within the AI universe, right? So the same people that are reading about you are your potential customers, right? Like, so it's not like Dippy where they have to like find consumers that like talking to chatbots, right? Like a different thing, right? It's not the same people. It's not you and me. We wouldn't use Dippy, right? Like we're not the audience.
Well, no, I'm kidding.
Right. But you and I would be I would use your product for sure. Like I would love to use your product. I would love to just be able to talk to something and be like, oh, try this, try that. Now, when it builds code, actually, this is something I have a question about. One of the things, I mean, from my perspective, like I would love to try more sort of experiments with AI, and I would love for the AI engineer to automatically set up hosting for me. Be like, okay, I want you to do a website, set up hosting for me, scale it for me. Like, do your agents do that?
Yes, we want them to do that. That's the whole point. It's like you don't just solve this; you solve it end to end for the user. It's not like because then you still need an engineer to set all that up and connect it all. Right. Ideally,
that doesn't do me any good.
Why can't the AI just do it for you? Like it's just another step in the many hundreds of steps to do. And if you're getting every step right, it's fine. Like you can set it all up for them.
That is awesome. So you will deal with the hosting and the scaling for me, and I don't even have to think about that again. That is fantastic.
We're some time away from that. Like our step one is to get the thing to work, and then to actually add all these things. But the actual and like the mechanism there to get people to compete and actually get this done reliably is set and working.
Wow, that's awesome, dude. I love this. So okay, so let's just talk about Bittensor in general now. How do you feel? Do you feel subnets are working in general? Because I know there's definitely a lot of complaints about the fact that the subnet market caps are still pretty low, compared to kind of everything else in crypto. And we all know why, because the blockchain is gushing liquidity into the pools, which is creating dilution at a fairly high rate right now. That'll calm down after the halvening, like sort of end of this year. And the way Const kind of put it in a recent Discord chat was this is sort of the ICO phase, right, of all the subnets. It's a year-long ICO. As they're sort of booting up liquidity. So, nobody's going to do great this year, but come January, February, when that calms down, we should actually be able to see true price discovery. What do you think about that? Is that the correct way to view this, or do you have another view?
I don't have a strong read on it because I feel like there's a lot of factors at play. And like when I was a trader, I kind of like always try to focus on like, okay, within this macro subset of like all these different things, can I predict something in this very kind of narrow situation? Whereas this is a very wide situation where you're kind of dependent on the price of TAO. You're dependent on like inflows coming in from outside of TAO. You're dependent on like the actual subnet tokenomics. You're dependent on like subnets figuring out how to drive value from the revenue back into the alpha token in a way that isn't just buy back and burn. There's a lot of kind of factors that have to be figured out. So the honest answer is that I don't know. On our side, like so for example, like one common thing that everyone's doing is they're trying to like reduce that liquidity flowing in and selling into the pool, for example, by like burning miner emissions. And it's a really tough situation and it's a tough spot to be in. So possibly like that's what makes sense. For us, for example, we're trying to do similar things without actually burning. So for instance, like in our dashboard, we built like a bunch of the miner tools. The miners get to use it if they want. It's optional. And if they do, they forego 10% of their emissions, stuff like that. As to like where the market goes from here, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty optimistic that like as soon as you get a couple of these breakout subnets that bring like real value, it's one of the first times in crypto that like a non-financial product has worked. And kind of my hope is that like that'll drive like a lot of real inflows into TAO that isn't just speculative, or like positively speculative, not like just gambling.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And you are right. It'll be, I mean, other than NFTs, where, I mean, you can argue whether that was like a real product or not, but, you know, digital collectibles, you know, it's not money, right? Like it's not a financial product, so it's something else. But still, that's, I think, you know, it's still largely speculation based. Whereas this is real world, real world usage for a real product.
Yeah, there's a fundamental reason for why the crypto played a role in the AI being better than the centralized competitor.
Yes, for sure. So basically, so right now you're in a position where your miners, you're paying a lot of them in fiat, and you're paying them out of the miner emissions. Mm-hmm. So you are, as far as I know, you're not one of these miner emission burn guys. You can't be, because you need to pay your miners, right? So you can't burn the money you're going to pay them with. Yes, but you are selling, I think, the miner emissions immediately to pay, you know, for fiat to pay your miners. So that's correct. Okay.
Yes, yeah. And so our answer to that is that, well, we're selling less than the miners would, because you can see on chain how much the miners sell. And our 30% cut means that we're selling less than them. So the money's going to be sold anyway. We're just selling it less hard. Okay. And then what actually, like the other interesting thing is the people that end up staying on chain are the ones that are just trying to accrue as much alpha at any cost possible, which it then kind of skews the distribution where they're more likely to hold now. Like the people.
That's true. Well, I mean, look, your price has been doing fantastic. I mean, I try not to do a price show here, but you know, in terms of, you know, your subnet has been one of the ones which has been consistently on its way up. Now, none of them are like hockey sticks right now, but you're like, you know, pretty consistently. And it's a very strong sort of graph for Bittensor subnet right now, despite all the selling pressure, right? Which is that you're creating by, you know, not everyone is paying their miners in fiat and selling their, right? Yeah. So that's quite extraordinary, actually. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, we'll ask you a fun question before we go. So other than your own subnet, what are some of the other subnets that you like? Do you have favorites?
Oh, man. Yeah, I do. A lot. Obviously, Shoots and Targon, because they power our inference. Yeah. I like Red AI, which seems like a really interesting business.
Yep.
Score as well, like another very cool one where I feel like that's like
Score? Did you say Score?
Yeah, 44.
Yes. Okay.
Score is cool. There's like a bunch of them. There's a lot of really cool subnets out there. We're using Bitcast to like produce our videos. We're doing like a marketing thing with them. It's like an interesting kind of like way to get marketing on cheap.
I thought Bitcast was fantastic, and I was totally not a believer at first. Really? I was like, this is dumb. I don't like it.
Well, for me, like, I can pay like $20,000 to like for someone to make like 10 videos for me, or I can pay $3,000 and like 10 miners make videos for me anyway. It's a great deal.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's once again the incentivization. The chain is basically subsidizing the marketing of what you're doing by paying podcasters to produce video content. And once I kind of figured out what it was, I was like, oh, this is way better than I thought it was.
For sure. Yeah.
So I participate. I produce content for it. So I guess
really?
I guess I'll get your brief pretty soon. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's coming out. I think like either today or tomorrow. It's coming out pretty soon.
I'll be participating for sure, especially after this interview, right?
Yeah.
So.
There's so many. I mean, like Bitmind is super underrated. I think that's going to become like really useful, like sooner than later. And like once that kicks in, like once it gets really bad, especially with all these like AI generated like characters and stuff like that, I think everyone's gonna be scrambling to play catch up with them because they'll have had time to like develop like their detection for quite a while.
So people who don't know what it is, what is Bitmind?
They do like deepfake detection basically. You pass it an image or whatever, you go like, hey, Bitmind, is this legit? And it tells you no.
And people today are like, I'll just have Grok check that. Why would I use like this weird Bittensor or other product, right? Yeah. And do you know the answer to that?
Well, it's really hard. Like how do you detect it? There's like so many different things, and they're getting better. Like every few weeks, we're seeing like better and better models.
Well, Bitmind is the best in the world. That's the reason why you'd use it.
Exactly.
So it scores by far the highest out of everything, even surpassing Grok in deepfake detection.
100%. Yeah.
And probably,
well.
because of the competition model, right? So
yeah,
you just got
sure.
you're brute forcing just parallel brains attacking this.
Yeah,
this
and it's
problem.
going to be super needed like sooner than later. I think like it's getting pretty bad how realistic these things look.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
So
okay, so many favorites. The latent guys too, like TAO hash is pretty cool. I'm excited to see what they do with Hone now as well. There's a lot of really cool subnets. Like there's like too many to kind of keep track of. I think
there are. Thank God they paused it at 128. I have to say because it's been like as like investor guy, it's been like almost impossible to keep up with what's going on with all 128 subnets. Like every day, I'm like scrambling around and reading and watching podcasts and just it's like once it gets to like 300, it's going to be impossible.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to subdivide it
to summarize it.
Yeah. We're gonna need a subnet to summarize all the other subnets.
Yeah,
that's what we're gonna need.
Exactly.
I'm sort of joking, but sort of not. So, okay, Shaq, thank you so much for spending some time with us. This has been awesome. I am super bullish on what you're doing.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Okay, everybody. My name is Mark Jeffrey. This has been Hash Rate. We'll see you all next time.